I'm Alina, 23 years old and nearing the end of my college journey, aspiring to be a journalist. However, rather than anticipating graduation, I find myself trapped in a distressing situation. Just a day ago, we laid my father to rest. My dad, Martin, was often away on business, but he always made sure I felt his love. Now, the house feels hauntingly empty without him, constantly reminding me of the void his absence has created. As I linger at the entrance of our home, still numb from the funeral, my mother, Claudia, and my sister, Victoria, quickly divulge their plans. Their words strike me like a mournful bell tolling, signaling the end of our family's unity. "We're selling this house," Claudia declares, her eyes devoid of warmth, despite her attempt at appearing sorrowful. "Start searching for a new place, Alina, you need to move out soon." I can hardly process what I'm hearing. Before I can even begin to grapple with my father's death, my mom and sister are already fixated on money and what they can gain. It feels like a profound betrayal. "You don't think you deserve anything, do you?" Victoria sneers, her boyfriend, Jan, chuckling beside her. Their cruel amusement ignites my fury. I shouldn't have to hear such words, especially when the pain is still fresh. I've never understood their obsession with wealth and appearances. I've always felt out of place in this family, too serious and studious, the dreamer they used to tease. Now, as their scheming becomes evident, all those years of indifference and ridicule bubble to the surface. "You're the worst," I explode, unable to contain my anger. "I'm done with this. I'm done with all of you." Just then, the doorbell rings, interrupting my outburst. Frustrated by the disturbance, I wipe away my angry tears and open the door. A man in a dark suit stands there, holding a briefcase, and his face seems vaguely familiar. "My condolences," he says solemnly. "May I come in?" Who is this stranger appearing at the worst possible moment with such a grave tone? I'm not ready to deal with anyone else right now, but something in his gaze suggests this isn't just a courtesy call. I step aside, allowing him entry, wondering what this means for our already fragile family dynamic. The echo of my father's laughter used to fill our home, softening the sting of my mother and sister's harshness. Now, the walls feel as though they're closing in, mingling memories of their hurtful remarks with the emptiness left by his death. I always found solace in my studies, hoping they would lead me away from the shallow desires that consumed Claudia and Victoria. But as I sit at the dining table, it's difficult to focus on anything but the void Martin's passing has left behind. Silent meals have become the norm since Dad fell ill and passed. Victoria is glued to her phone, and Claudia flips through high-fashion magazines, completely disconnected from reality. Their recent plan to sell our home and leave me behind is the final nail in the coffin of our family ties. They seem so eager to chase their dreams of luxury apartments and designer lifestyles that nothing else seems to matter. Dad was our anchor, and I had hoped for at least a semblance of unity in his absence. But now, witnessing their blatant opportunism, the illusion of family shatters, and something inside me breaks. I'm tired of being the outsider, the one who cared. I'm ready to walk away from it all. Lost in thought, the doorbell rings again, a sound that now signifies more disruption and bad news. Standing at the door is a man from my father's past, someone whose connection to our family has faded over time. "Good evening," he greets me. "I need to discuss your father's affairs." His formal tone feels out of place in our chaotic living room, starkly highlighting our family's discord. I nod and motion for him to take a seat. Claudia and Victoria peek out from the kitchen, their curious faces displaying irritation. The man extracts a stack of papers from his briefcase, his expression serious. "I'm Mr. Adams, your father's attorney. He entrusted me with his will and some final instructions," he explains, adjusting his glasses with a gravity that suggests significant news is forthcoming. Claudia leans in, clearly intrigued, while Victoria tries to maintain a casual demeanor but remains close by. As Mr. Adams prepares to speak, I brace myself for what's to come, uncertain of the ramifications but aware that our family dynamics are on the verge of another shift. Tension fills the room as Mr. Adams clears his throat and unfolds the document containing my father Martin's final wishes. Claudia and Victoria lean forward eagerly, their attempts at composure faltering since his passing. "In accordance with your father's wishes," Mr. Adams begins, "I am here to read the will and initiate the process of carrying out his instructions." His gaze shifts between us, perhaps gauging our readiness for the impending revelation. I can't shake the sense of dread. Years of living under my mother and sister's expectations have conditioned me to expect little and prepare for disappointment. Yet, as the attorney begins to read, it becomes evident that our expectations are about to be overturned. To my daughter, Alina, I leave my entire estate, including the family home and all savings and investments. The room falls silent, broken only by the quiet rustle of papers and the steady ticking of the grandfather clock. Mr. Adams continues, but his words barely register. All I can hear is the thundering of my heart and a ringing in my ears. It can't be right. There must be some mistake. I manage to stutter, my voice sounding foreign to me. But why? Victoria pushes her chair back abruptly, her eyes wide with a mix of disbelief and fury. Claudia, equally shocked, sits frozen, her mouth moving soundlessly. Jan, who had been lurking in the background, steps forward as if to console or perhaps restrain Victoria. This has to be a joke, right? Jan demands, but Mr. Adams shakes his head solemnly. There's no mistake, he assures us. Martin was very clear in his wishes. He believed that Alina, with her integrity and dedication, would honor his legacy and manage his assets responsibly. Claudia regains her composure, her disbelief morphing into anger. But what about us? She questioned sharply, her voice quivering with rage. Are we supposed to receive nothing while she gets everything? The question hangs in the air, heavy with resentment from my mother and sister. I'm speechless, caught between the weight of this unexpected responsibility and the pain of their apparent greed. Mr. Adams looks at me. Martin had his reasons, which he believed would become evident in time. Right now, we need to discuss the next steps and the details of the estate. As he speaks, I can't help but ponder what my father saw in me, what trust he placed in my hands, and how I can possibly live up to it amidst the debris of our family unity. The silence following Mr. Adams's revelation feels as heavy as the grief I felt at my father's funeral. Claudia and Victoria's anger permeates the room, crashing against my shock like relentless waves against a cliff. For a moment, no one speaks. We're paralyzed, the weight of my father's will cutting through the air like a chilling breeze. My reasons, Mr. Adams continues, addressing me directly, are explained in a personal letter your father left for you. Alina, I will give it to you after we finish here. Victoria's voice shatters the silence. There must be some mistake, she protests, her words reverberating off the walls, igniting a conflict I have no desire to engage in. Jan places a hand on her shoulder, attempting to soothe her, but her determination remains unyielding. How can she inherit everything? Victoria's voice rises sharply, incredulous. And what about us? Are we suddenly strangers he decided to abandon after everything we've done for him? She wields her words like a weapon, her disbelief escalating into a crescendo of frustration. Claudia's shocked facade crumbles into rage. Exactly, there has to be some provision for this, some oversight or option to contest it. This is ridiculous. Her hands grip the chair's arms tightly, her knuckles paling. Finally, I find my voice, weak even to my own ears. I don't understand. Why would Dad do this? What was he thinking? My mind races with questions that all lead back to a man I now realize I may never have truly known. Mr. Adams removes his glasses, rubbing his nose before responding. Martin had his reasons, and he wanted you to comprehend them in his own words. As for Claudia and Victoria, he turns to them. You have the option to challenge the will if you wish. Martin's intentions were clear, and his mental soundness when drafting it is well documented. The room erupts into chaos once more, voices overlapping as Claudia and Victoria voice their anger and confusion, scrambling to devise a strategy. I barely register their words. My thoughts are fixated on the open letter, a final message from my father ominously resting on the table. Taking a deep breath, I reach for the paper, feeling its paradoxical lightness and heaviness in my hands. As I unfold it, I prepare to delve into the thoughts of a man who chose to communicate from beyond the grave rather than face me in life, a man who has left me a legacy that feels more like a cursed gift than a blessing. Alone in my room with the door firmly shut, I carefully open the letter, my hands trembling uncontrollably. Each crease seems to echo my father's voice, and as his words come to life, I brace myself for the truths they reveal. Dear Alina, it begins, in his familiar handwriting. As you read this, I want to express my regret. Regret that I cannot share these thoughts with you in person. Regret for placing a burden on you that no parent should pass down. His immediate and heartfelt apology cuts through the complexities and stark realities I had just faced. I inhale deeply, finding a moment of peace in the scent of ink mingling with paper. I have always noticed your strength, discipline, and vision for a brighter future. In you, I recognized the potential for a life founded on honesty and integrity, far removed from the clutches of greed. The paper trembles in my hands, not from a draft sneaking through the old window, but from the flood of emotions it unleashes. I keep reading, my gaze fixed on the words. Alina, I have seen the dynamics at play in our home. Your patience and dedication in the face of your mother and sister's neglect have brought me both sorrow and pride. Entrusting you with my entire estate is my attempt to make amends for the unfair burdens you have carried. With each line, my father crafts a tapestry of unspoken observations and quiet support. The man who often seemed distant had been observing closely, understanding more than he ever revealed. My sole wish is that this inheritance grants you the freedom and means to chase the dreams that burn brightly within you. Don't feel compelled to fix what was broken long before you could make a difference. Live the life you rightfully deserve. My Alina. As I fold the letter and press it against my chest, I feel the love inscribed in ink by a father who acknowledged his daughter's selfless sacrifices. A wave of determination, mingled with the grief that has enveloped me since his passing, washes over me. Stepping out of the sanctuary of my room, I re-enter the stormy atmosphere of my fragmented family. Mr. Adams meets my gaze with a silent question as I take my place among them. Claudia's gaze is sharp and unwavering, while Victoria paces anxiously, her earlier anger now tinged with desperation. It's time to discuss our next steps, I announce, my voice steadier than my emotions suggest. Claudia scoffs. What comes next is that we contest this nonsense. Victoria nods vigorously. You can't just take everything, Alina. We deserve our fair share. Mr. Adams intervenes, addressing the challenge to the will. Contesting the will would be a lengthy and expensive endeavor, with no guaranteed results. Martin's wishes are clear, and he has the right to enforce them. With my father's heartfelt words resonating in my mind, I face the family that has never truly felt like one. This decision wasn't mine, it was his, and I intend to honor it. The tension grips us all like iron shackles, but amidst the chaos, one truth stands firm: I will fulfill my obligation, uphold my father's wishes, and perhaps, in doing so, carve my own path toward a brighter future. In the days that followed, our home transformed into a battleground of eerie silences and explosive confrontations. Victoria and Claudia sought legal avenues, consulting attorneys and scouring for any loophole to overturn the will. They clung stubbornly to the belief that they were entitled to Martin's legacy, perceiving it more as their rightful inheritance than the product of a man's lifetime of hard work. Despite their relentless efforts, Mr. Adams remained resolute, a calming presence amid the turmoil. His reassurances provided comfort as we navigated the complexities of settling the estate. The will is solid, Alina, he would remind me over cups of lukewarm coffee in the formal dining room. You don't need to worry about their threats. Yet, despite Mr. Adams's confidence, guilt gnawed at my conscience. Was it fair to accept everything while leaving my mother and sister empty-handed? Intellectually, I understood my father's reasoning, but emotionally, I wrestled with a lingering sense of family obligation, a desire to mend what was broken, even if I knew it might be beyond repair. My days were consumed by preparing for legal challenges and diving into my father's financial matters. The weight of responsibility felt overwhelming, analyzing figures, making decisions about properties and investments I had never known existed. Each task felt like navigating through thick fog, but I was determined to honor my father's trust and see it through. As I scrutinized financial statements, my thoughts wandered to the life awaiting me beyond these walls, how I could utilize this inheritance to carve a path aligned with my values, how I could make a meaningful impact on the world. Amidst the rising chaos, Claudia and Victoria's true natures emerged through their bursts of pettiness and malice. Victoria hastily claimed sentimental family heirlooms, while Claudia hinted at dark secrets that could tarnish Martin's reputation. Their tactics were aimed at undermining me, testing my resolve, but I had learned to navigate their emotional traps with caution. On a particularly tense evening, with the air thick with unspoken threats and icy glares, I reached my breaking point. Enough, I declared, my single word slicing through the tension like a knife. 3 pairs of eyes turned toward me, uncertain, cautious. I can't give you what Dad didn't leave for you, but I can assist you in starting anew somewhere else. Their shock was palpable, a sudden shift in the power dynamics they had attempted to manipulate. It may not be a life of luxury, but it will be a fresh beginning. Claudia's laughter shattered the silence, devoid of humor. A consolation prize from our dear Alina? How generous! Her sarcasm stung, yet I remained steadfast, fortified by years of hardened resolve. Despite the bitterness between us, I stood my ground. It's not about winning or losing, it's a choice, take it or leave it. But know this, I'm moving forward with or without your approval. Their response was a mix of silence and reluctant nods, a fragile agreement forged from the clash of self-interest and necessity. retreating to my room. The weight of my father's letter in my pocket served as a reminder of the journey ahead, one where I would not only navigate the inheritance, but also discover who I would become because of it. Days turned into weeks, filled with meetings with Mr. Adams and the intricacies of managing my inheritance. Claudia and Victoria, begrudgingly accepting my offer, began their search for a more modest home. The tension eased somewhat, yet a chill lingered in the air, deeper than the encroaching winter. It was a time of solitude amidst chaos, the house growing emptier with each packed box and removed piece of furniture. I found solace in my father's study, a refuge untouched by time, a capsule of the past where family tensions once simmered beneath the surface of daily life. The day came when Claudia and Victoria departed for good. With a signed check and a brief farewell, they left, taking with them a chapter of a life forever changed. Standing at the door, I watched their car disappear around the bend, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. Now, it was time to focus on the future. With Mr. Adams's guidance, I established a charitable foundation in my father's name, dedicated to providing educational opportunities for underprivileged students, echoing the aspirations of my younger self, who once felt her dreams were unattainable. Within our home, I enrolled in graduate school, pursuing a journalism program that aligned with my long-held career ambitions. Utilizing my father's network and the resources now available to me, I secured an internship at a respected newspaper. My life became a whirlwind of activity, immersing myself in the pursuit of stories and advocacy for justice, themes my father and I had often discussed during his frequent business trips, now feeling like distant memories. These days, my life keeps me in constant motion, carrying forward the principles my father instilled in me wherever I go. The house, once confining, has transformed into a true home. As I've made it my own, I've repainted walls, rearranged furniture, and welcomed a rescue dog, a spirited companion whose barks and boundless energy fill the once empty spaces with joy. Rooms that once echoed with family discord now resonate with the warmth of friends, colleagues, and shared laughter. Occasionally, I retreat to my father's study, immersing myself in his old letters and well-worn books. My gaze often rests on his signature at the bottom of the letter, the final message that reshaped my life. Duty and love, he wrote, are the strongest forces we wield. Use them wisely. In those quiet moments, surrounded by his legacy of words and wisdom, I silently vow to honor his memory by doing just that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next video. Stay inspired.